Alright, so in this video I just wanted to kind of show you how I animate my videos. It's pretty simple how I do it, but so let's take this video that I got so far. So let's look at all of the animation curves in SFM, and as you can see, this is a lot of stuff. This is just throughout the whole animation. It's just all cluttered. So let's look at the minion first. So actually, let me mute some of these real quick, so then it's not all in the background. Alright, so let's just start off with how I did the movement of like him moving back and forth. I just kind of put random bits in there. As you can kind of see, it's completely random. Just move back and forth kind of as like an idle animation that you can kind of see there. And then I didn't do anything on the spine because you can kind of see it already does what it needs to do. And then on this part of the arm, you can see I started here, so then it automatically makes an auto animation thing. But then when I go like this, I just had it just randomly move around. Just made it look what made it do what I thought it looked best. And then let's look at the mouth movement. So on this I just basically took over from Gmod, and it's actually kind of messed up. So I had to use the it is an unknown, yes. So I had to use the O movement from Gmod, and I just put it in there as I saw fit, and it automatically did all the stuff that I needed it to do. And then let's have a look at Kermit's head, so Kermit's head, actually no, I did the neck, sorry. The Kermit's head doesn't, I just moved it how I basically recorded myself moving my head as I talked, and kind of over exaggerated it. So then it's more like, so like when he was ready to say something basically sad, I made him move his head down more, as you can see here, kind of. And then when he was more happy, or something crazy was happening, like if I go over to my work camera, you can see I had him angle upwards because he's gonna be holding the banana. And then basically I worked all the way up his spine to make it more of a fluid animation, and that's kind of like always what you should do in order to make it more, I guess, lifelike. But then as you can see, I took this and I just used the what's it called? Let me find it. So on the legs, I used the DAG utilities menu. That's like an add-on in the Source Filmmaker workshop, which is honestly really helpful for creating like IK constraints if you're having a hard time making this. And then I just kind of cheated moving him over here. As you can kind of see on the camera, I cheated him sitting down. That's kind of what I did with the minion too. So I actually had him, I didn't move the lower part of the legs, I just had him move like that. He doesn't actually properly even sit down. He just puts his legs out like he's floating down. But from the camera's perspective, you can't really see that well. So that's what you can do to take advantage of the camera. And what I do is, let's say if I just move the camera over here to where the regular camera was, the workshop camera to where the regular camera was, you can kind of see how I use the camera for a lot of the animation, because it looks extremely simple just without the camera movement. You can see everything's like still around that, but you gotta keep it in the focus, so then that's all that's happening throughout it. So that's just taking advantage of the camera, and that's kind of what you can do to save time, because I made this whole animation in like 2 hours or something, and I was like really tired because I had just made another video before it, like the night before, sorry, and it was really quite hard to actually figure out what I was gonna do, but once I did, it made a lot of sense. And then what I usually do is I just use Audacity to record the sound clips, and it's really easy to use because I just bought my new mic as the time that I made this, so I took advantage of that too. It's just really easy to make. So yeah, I hope that helped with some stuff. Here, just for an example, I can make a quick animation, and just to let you know, this is a little, I guess, hint to the next video. The next one's gonna be IDK bruh. It's gonna be kind of weird, but you can always like start off. I just have 60 FPS, so then it looks a lot more smooth. And I'm just gonna call it random example, just for the purposes of this video. So I can create this, and then I shall save that. And I already had a map loaded in, as you can see, because that was the one that I had on the previous one. You can move the camera around. And then let's just add a simple character real quick. Let's see. Let's look up Alex. Alex is, I'm pretty sure, included with the base thing. Alright, so let's move our camera back. Let's just do like a quick animation of Alex waving. So I always just go to the graph editor. Some people use, I forget what it's called. It's basically where you can do animation is a lot simpler, but if you take advantage of the graph editor, it can be like really good. So it's just press M to start the animation, I guess. Make a keyframe. You can either move along with the arrow keys, but sometimes I just play. So let's say I want to move the arm up. That kind of looks weird, so let's try going like that, because then it's a lot more natural to what your arm would actually do, because you can't bend your arm really upwards. That's kind of as far as it'll go, so you kind of want to go a little more naturally anyway. But if we just go like that, you can see real simple animation right there. And then what you can do is actually move down the arm. Like, for example, you can start here, you press M to make a keyframe, and as it's going up, you have it rotate, which I actually wouldn't suggest, but I'm just going to do that because it'll be really broken. Usually you would rotate this bone, but I'm just going to do this, and it'll look really janky. But then you just rotate it, so then waving kind of looks kind of nice like that. And then let's have it move that way, then that way, then that way. So that's extremely simple, but waving. And then what you can do is, like I said, move down the arm. So then as it's moving up, you might want to add a little bit of just tiny bit of movement. Just watch until it gets to the curve. So like until there, let's say. Then you can go like into the middle or a little bit to the side, move it down a little bit. It'll look like there's a little bit of drag on the hand. And then you go like that. Since it's moving a little faster, you can add a keyframe there. And then if you have a movement where it's gonna be still, kind of staying in the same position and then waiting for the next thing, you can press shift and then click on the two keyframes and then click the little line thing, so then it'll make sure to stay straight. And then what you can do is go to the end of that little curve thing, as you can see, make another keyframe, go into the middle, add a little drag, that's a little bit of exaggeration, kind of make it more cartoony. And then just copy this over for the next thing. So go to the next end of the curve, which is gonna be right here. And then you want to add another keyframe in the middle, another rotation like that, some exaggeration. So then it's gonna look like this, kind of like a regular hand waving. As you can see, it looks a lot better. But you know what you can do is you can actually go back and add more animation to this. So you can see it's just a straight line like that. But since we're gonna have it wave, you can go back and then let's say kind of move it down a little, and move it up a little, and a little bit more up. You can add a little rotation side to side to make it look a little more natural. So then it looks like this. Kind of looks kind of weird, but that's because of the rotation. That's how I would animate, like, just a waving thing really quick. So that was only like a minute, I don't know. And then what you can do to make it like rest really softly is you can select the whole character, and then like a second later afterwards you can press the M key to add a keyframe. And then what it should do is actually go from the final keyframe and kind of slowly move it into the rest position. As you can see here, it'll just go like this and then it'll stop, kind of make it look a little more smooth. And I just usually keep the regular graph settings, and the only time I change it really is with the line thing when you have something stopped. But otherwise the regular stuff looks a lot better than if I did something else. But sometimes I do that, but that's just to like fix a glitch, for example, because a lot of glitches can happen. But yeah, that should be really good. And then if you really want to over exaggerate some stuff, you can move to this bone. I would suggest using the pelvis, because if you rotate here, you'll rotate the whole body. And I sometimes do that, but that's only when I use the trick to use the camera. But I would use this, and then you click M, and then as it's moving up, I don't know, you might want a bit of motion, but here, let's say, as you can see the end of the arc, so then you can maybe add some anticipation there, kind of like that. It's not really anticipation, but kind of getting ready for the movement going along with it. And then let's add more exaggeration. Actually, I think you're gonna want to rotate this the opposite direction, kind of like that, kind of getting ready for the movement. And then if we just go to the end of the curve, like right there, and you don't actually have to be exact, and you shouldn't really be exact all the time, because if you were, it would look really unnatural. And then let's just continue. Let's add to the end of the curve. And then if we look now, it's going to look pretty smooth. But what we can do to make it even smoother is you can almost copy what you did with the first one, adding the same kind of movement where you add there. Let's just get all of the original curves done at the start. So you have it like that, so then you can add even more curve, but kind of offset it so that it looks a little more natural. So either a little earlier or a little later than the last one. Just add some variation to it. Now if we look, that's pretty smooth. And that's pretty much all I do. If I wanted to make it more advanced, I would continue up the spine, as you can see, like up to the neck even. So then it's a little more movement. And maybe if you really wanted to go extremely cartoony, you could kind of, well, first you gotta remember to start the keyframe at the beginning of the movement. But you can go to the end of the curve, create another keyframe. You're gonna kind of want to get the end of the curve by the beginning before you do anything. Just get your things ready. And there. And then you can go into the middle. And since you're moving this way, you're gonna want to go to the middle, move the head that way a little, maybe add some rotation, and go like that. And then do the same thing. So basically, you're gonna want to do the opposite of each motion. Kind of make it look a little more fluid. Like you're moving backwards in this, kind of. And then you just add, yeah. And it's gonna look kind of cartoony, like she's a little more wobbly. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then I found out in a lot of maps, the bloom will be a little crazy. So what you can do is open up the camera, add what you would do to add animation to the camera, then go to this page and set the bloom scale to 0, and it'll make everything look a lot less blown out, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope this tutorial helped a little bit. It's not really much of a tutorial, but just an explanation of how I make my stuff. So thank you, and good night, and goodbye.